Alright, here we gotta go over some reflections. And remember, if you have a negative out in front of your number or in front of your function, then that negative is going to take your equation and it's going to reflect it over your x-axis. So if we look at these two equations here, we have y equals 3 cosine of x and y equals a negative 3 cosine of x. Then you'll notice that the negative is taking your darker graph right here, and it is taking this cosine function, which goes from here to here, and it's just reflecting it. So you still have your 5 points, your first, your second, halfway in between is your third, and then you have your fourth and your fifth. And so there's your function. Notice also with the 3, it has an amplitude up 3 and down 3. So even though it's negative, doesn't mean you just shift down 3 or go to the left 3 or anything. It's just an amplitude, because your amplitude is the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3. So that means the distance from here down to here is 3, and the distance from here down to here is 3. So that's what a reflection does to your graph. I know, no big news there. Now here is the new part, and this is called the period of a sine and a cosine function. Now keep in mind that the period is always from 0 to 2 pi unless you have a value of b in front of your x. There are going to be some times we're going to have to factor a b out, but the b is what is going to help you find the period. So you need to have this memorized, have it handy, or get it tattooed on your friend's forehead, whatever you want to do. But you need to find the period by taking 2 pi divided by b. Notice that if b is between 0 and 1, that means it's a fraction or a decimal. Then you're going to have a horizontal stretch, because it's always the opposite if it's horizontal. And if b is greater than 1, then you're going to have a shrink. So think about this. If your number is between 0 and 1, if it's like a half, you're taking a 2 pi divided by half. So if you have 2 pi over 1 half, which is just a 2 pi divided by 1 half, well, if you divide by a fraction, that's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So you're actually multiplying by 2, which gives you a 4 pi. So if your b is a number between 0 and 1, no matter if it's a sine or cosine, your graph is no longer from 0 to 2 pi. Okay, instead it's going to be from 0 to 4 pi. So your graph is just going to be stretched out. That was nice. Alright, so let's see what we can do here with this example 4. You can rewrite this equation as cosine of 1/2 times x. So your b is not 2, your b is a 1/2. So if we need to figure out our amplitude, okay, your amplitude is in front of your cosine, which is just a 1. So your amplitude is 1. So we're still going to go from 0 to 1. So let's make this 1 right here and negative 1 right here. So that's going to be the height. And then what we're going to do after that is you're going to take find your period. So the period no longer goes from 0 to 2 pi. Instead, what you're going to find is you're going to take 2 pi divided by this number right here. This is your b value. Okay, so if that's your b value right here, then you're going to put a 1/2 underneath here, and I actually just showed you how to divide by a half. So the period is no longer 2 pi, it is a 4 pi. So we're going to need to stretch out this graph. So let's go every 2. I think we can still go by a 1/2 pi. So we'll go 1/2 pi here, pi, 3/2 pi, 2 pi, 5/2 pi, 3 pi. This would be a 7/2 pi, and this would be 4 pi. Perfect. So we have a cosine, which means we're going to have the little cup shape. God, man, my cosines are horrible. So let's put our points in. So we're going to start up here at 1. That's the first point. We're going to end at 4 pi, but we're going to go up 1. So that's right here. Halfway between 0 and 4 pi is a 2 pi, which means we're going down one right here. And now halfway between 0 and 2 pi is 1 pi. This is where your graph is crossing your x-axis. Same thing at 3 pi. So you stretch this graph out, and it goes back up. There is your y equals cosine of a half x.